What's up, YouTube? Southern Comic Geek coming to you with another unboxing Build-A-Figure set. Today, I have gotten all of the Age of Apocalypse Build-A-Figures for Sugar Man, to include the extra Age of Apocalypse figures. So we're talking about 8 whole figures, which I'm going to unbox today, piece together the Sugar Man, and then show you the Apocalypse. If you want to see all of that, stay tuned for the video. So before we get into all of this crazy toy goodness, I want to go ahead and shout out the YouTube channel members and also the Patreon members. Both, if you are interested in one or the other, links are in the description below, and you can see the various benefits to either one of those options. Also, if you are wondering about the values of your comic collection, visit gocollect.com for answers to your collecting questions and interesting articles for free. Get even more information with a paid for membership. So having said that, let's get into this. So I've been on this kick with action figures as of late, and some I've been not open, then open. But with the Marvel Legends figures, the packaging has not been to the such, kind of like the Star Wars Black Series has been to me, and not to be on the fence as to whether or not to open it up or not. And then when you have the Build-A-Figures, it's kind of like the DC Multiverse line that, hey, you're buying it to get the Build-A-Figure as well. So, but I've been waiting until I actually had all the pieces. I guess you could put the pieces up or whatever like that, but maybe it's more interesting this way. So I got the final one. So let's see what it says as number 1. And so we'll go in order of what they say number 1 is. So first off is Jean Grey. And isn't she in there with the lovely face of Sugar Man? If you've never read The Age of Apocalypse, which I figured everybody that my age that even dealt with X-Men would have by now, but I forget who it was that said they had not read it as of yet. And I'm like, I'll forgive you about the later renditions of that line, because it was just the age-old concept over and over and over again. But the original one was dope. And let's see what we got here. So I don't know, should I leave it? Okay. Yeah, we can go ahead and, so his head, probably just for packaging's sake, his head is separate than his body. And you can see the little suspenders that has the little buttons on them and such. And he has the back piece, which we're going to connect the arms, and especially, but in particular the arms, and maybe the legs too, before we snap that back piece on, just make it easier. But I don't think the head is going to get in the way. So there is, look at that tongue. Gene Simmons would be proud of this tongue right here. So would Venom. So this is the Marvel Legends Jean Grey Age of Apocalypse figure. So, I mean, it's comic accurate, not the most exciting Jean Grey out there. As far as upper body movement, wrist, elbow, it's out that way. So all the traditional points of articulation. And then as per usual, actually she didn't really have any articulation. There we go. So she has forward and backward articulation, but she don't have ankles to go to side like some of them do. And as typical with some of these thinner figures, the legs feel very little lanky. I don't know there's really anything they can do with that. However, I have seen some of the DC Multiverse, like the Bryce Wayne, the DC Multiverse, the drowned version of Batman. I have seen that one. It's thin, but it's just better built, just my opinion. So there is that. One I'm going to keep. It's not going to be one that the little one can play with, but it's not one that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a dope figure right there. So number 2, according to the packaging, is X-Man. Of course, X-Man, Nate Gray, in the Age of Apocalypse world, was the genetic test tube baby for Jean Grey and Scott Summers. So he comes out just like Cable did, or basically like Cable did in the 616 universe. Difference is he's not infected with the technology virus. And in this one, just like in the regular verse, Sinister sought to use him to take down Apocalypse, which he essentially helps do in the Age of Apocalypse universe. And so he does that, and he stabs Holocaust, which is Apocalypse's son, or Nemesis, I think he's also called, stabs him with a shard of the Myrocron crystal. So instead of going back in time like Sugar Man and Dark Beast did, they went into this present time. And he, of course, wakes up and he has a run-in with the X-Men and basically eventually comes to himself. But it's a character that was like so overpowered that they really didn't know what to do with him, because, I mean, you're seeing this is what would have happened had Cable not had the techno-organic virus, if he didn't have to use his telekinesis in particular to constantly rage against the virus and keep it in check. So all the typical articulation points, and except that he can actually turn that way. So that's kind of new. It's not typical. He has the glowing eye just like Cable does. It's actually attached to his head, so no losing that. It's probably a good thing. And he has a fist, which can turn, and then he has that. So he doesn't have any exchangeable hands or anything. And he doesn't, his ankles don't have a this way, just a up and down. Again, not the most articulate or best figures in the Marvel Legends line, but pretty cool, especially the nostalgia that it brings with these particular characters. So we're going to pop Sugar Man's arm in. Sugar Man, what a stylish dude. There we go. So, looking better already, right? He said, "You're the man. You're the man." So, I got this belt, but that wasn't there. Okay, I was making sure I hadn't messed up. I don't think there was any way around that. Then number 3 is Sunfire. So the Sunfire, which they would eventually adapt for the 616 universe after Apocalypse dealt with them there, is like full blaze. Actually, right. And I have the Sunfire figure that goes with the Warlock Build-A-Figure, which has the more traditional Sunfire, but this one's a lot better, I think. So this one has articulation this way as well as that way. He feels kind of loose though, right there. He can move to his left and his right, unlike, or just like Nate Gray, and Jean, I guess maybe because she's so small, she can do that on her top, but she don't have a waist to do it at, if that makes sense. So, wow. Don't lose your head, Sunfire. Oh, that went off easy. So it'd be kind of cool to have him blazing, get some extra little effects to have him shooting Apocalypse or something like that. If this figure was from back in the day, this one would be one of the ones that had the little sparks that you would flip the thing and it would like, oh, it's got real fire in it, but it's not. So what we got here, we got the other arms of the Sugar Man, and I just realized, did I put the right ones in the right spot? No, I didn't. So these should go in the bottom spot. Those should go in the top spot. Right. It's a good thing I noticed that before we get to put the back on. Probably could take it off, but these figures that pop in and out like that. You waller them out doing that. Right. Lovely individual. So we are 3 down. Who is number 4? Wild Child. Certainly the Age of Apocalypse Wild Child was a better rendition of the 616 Wild Child, who goes back and forth as far as just being a wild, whatever, and actually having a personality, depends on the writer and such. But in Age of Apocalypse, it was basically just like a pet, Sabretooth, in a good way. I mean, Sabretooth kept him company, kept him in line. Because Sabretooth was one of the good guys. So how did they... So the chain can go around his neck. And there's an older figure. I used to have it of the Sabretooth. I wish I still had it. Because it was, it might have been a builder figure. But yeah, so as you can imagine, with him being small, now he is more muscular. So he doesn't feel like little wanky, like as bad as the other ones do. His feet do have a lot more movement than what Jean Grey's did. And he has the back of Sugar Man. How would you like to rub that back? All right, so interesting. Okay. This is going to be a little interesting because of them suspenders. because I got to get that back behind those suspenders. The suspenders don't come on. Yeah, because they go down here. Okay. Move his hands down, move this around. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Let's move the suspenders back up. There we go. You right, all right. So we are moving right along here. Let's see who the next person they say is going to be Weapon X. And when we say Weapon X, we know that's Wolverine in some form or fashion. And in this fashion, he was part of Magneto's X-Men. Again, if you're not familiar with the Age of Apocalypse storyline, essentially it comes from the fact that Legion, Professor X's son, goes back in time to kill Magneto. Professor X jumps in front of him and causes this whole Age of Apocalypse storyline because Professor X never started the X-Men. Magneto did. And because of that, all this stuff happens. So eventually they stop it and stop the timeline to make things go back to the 616. And because Marvel knows nostalgia sells, they said this one. They said, well, we've got to revive all this stuff. So in the 90s, we thought it was said and done. So he was part of the whole deal. And I think Wolverine left. Was it when Scarlet Witch died, or was it when he let? I think it was when Magneto let Sabretooth join, and that was in that time. So that's why Sabretooth joined the X-Men, because he saw that the errors of his ways when Apocalypse attacked the X-Men. So at some point on the Lamb, which Cyclops was one of Sinister's little goons, he attacks Wolverine, blasts his hand off, and Wolverine pokes his eye out. But Jean Grey is with Weapon X in this scenario. So they had an opportunity there, because I kind of like the costume, the Weapon X, Age of Apocalypse Weapon X, like the costume, like the little nub hand, which with this little nub hand, the fourth issue, not spoiler alert because it's a 20-plus-year-old story, but he goes to stab the dude, and the claws come out of the deal. You can take that off and put the little nub on, and then do like that. So not sure why it didn't grow back. Maybe just plot holes or whatever. But so Wolverine and Jean Grey are an item here, and she's a little bit taller than him, as it would be comically accurate. So we got his leg on there. And then the next one, we've got a natural mimic, Kevin Sidney, transform himself into a shape as well. Morph! We got the Morph, as most people did not know him, because Morph's character was called the Changeling. I don't remember the reason why they had to change his name. Change his name. When X-Men Adventures came out, the X-Men animated series came out, there was some deal why they had to change his name. So that's when they changed him to Morph. And Morph, of course, died in the first episode. but the Age of Apocalypse morph is it's the only bad thing about characters with capes in these packaging. They're hard to pull out there. There we go. So his cape's all loose and goofy on him, which is kind of fitting for the character because he is a goofball character. And so, yeah. And look at that outfit. Of course, then he can morph into anything he wants to, similar to probably to a greater level and extent than Mystique. I've never seen Mystique transform into a wall, but Morph can. So his powers are probably a little better than Mystique's. Obviously, he's not as well known as what Mystique is. And he had a run in the Exiles comic book, like Blink did. So there is that. I want to get your morph fix on. Or if you're Burke Family 54 Comics, you can get your morph fix on by saying, "It's morphin' time!" Different morph, but yeah, same concept. Kind of. All right. There we go. It's kind of fearful I was going to break his feet off, but it's a little stiff. So we have got the completed character. I just need to get his little Sugar Man hammer that is in Dark Beast. Little stubby legs. So there is still joint movement at the kneecap, even though they're very short legs. And so seen this figure multiple times, but just wasn't doing it at that time, yada yada. And as always, when you go to look for it, then you can't find it. It's like that with the car keys, right? Of course, Dark Beast is gray, has a little metal pants on there. And as you should expect with Beast, very agile, even for his larger size. All the various articulation points that you would expect from Beast. So him and Sugar Man were some of Apocalypse's minions during that time. Now, you can change his hands out, whereas one looks like this and one looks like he's going to hold something. You can change one and then have one as a fist. I guess you can make different combinations. If one should pick up this hammer, he will find himself worthy. No, this is the sugar. Better to say sugar than Taiwan, right? So it's a pretty little big, heavy hammer there. And it goes in this hand right here. So pretty dope figure, especially good, like I said, because I'm a fan of the Age of Apocalypse storyline. The figures, I mean, the Build-A-Figure is cool. Figures overall, Beast is okay. Yeah, just okay. I mean, I'm not impressed by the quality of the workmanship as I have with some of the other Marvel Legends characters. and certainly not impressed with them as compared to the DC multiverse characters. But so before you say, "Well, you must be a DC fan," I'm basically with DC. It's basically just Batman or Batman related for me, which is all of DC right now, really. But I digress. The point being, I'm just talking about figure wise. So we have. I went ahead and purchased the Apocalypse as he is shown in the Age of Apocalypse, which was like my Thanos figure, just a bigger figure by himself. So, not near as big as the Age of Apocalypse Build-A-Figure that they did back in the day, but still size-wise, he's bigger than Sugar Man. And let's see how he fares with Nate Gray as an example. So, bigger than him, as you would expect. And then the cape actually clicks on, isn't it? Huh. All right, so if he's going out to the gala or something, he's got that. Got a fist. So he's got an open hand. And I'll show you why he's got an open hand in a minute. And then he's got this fist over here. But if you just want him to just pound some things, you can change out that open hand to a fist. And the reason why he would have an open hand is because he wants to play Hamlet. Let's see how he gets it in there. A little picture. See how yeah. So the little skull. To be or not to be? That is the question. All right. And then he also has a different head. Like, okay, this is like going to the party, Apocalypse. He's having a good time. This is the Apocalypse before he has his coffee in the morning. So this is the guy you don't want to mess with, right? Probably the guy with the two fists. So he's pretty flexible for the big guy. I don't know, because he feels kind of loose. So flexible in not a good way. But he has these extra shoulder pads that look like they come off. Yep. So I'll probably do a little deal with all the Age of Apocalypse. And there are several, and he's actually fairly flexible like this way, which is you would not expect with him. But I'll do a little deal, kind of like I did with the DC Multiverse Batman stuff, that has all them around, because there's some other figures like Blink that, or I mentioned the older Sabretooth figure. If I could find one of those, that'd be pretty cool and go well. Trying to think of any of the other characters that have had toys as of yet besides those two. I think that's it. I don't think there's been any. I might be wrong, and if I am, leave me a comment down below, because I don't want to steer anybody wrong, but I think that is all that we have had from the Age of Apocalypse line as of yet. And they don't really have to do every one of them, right? Do Chamber and every other cotton picking thing, but maybe a cool Nightcrawler, maybe the Angel, Colossus, that would be a pretty cool one. And Kitty Pryde, there as a couple. Cyclops, maybe they've done a Cyclops. I might be wrong. They might have done a Cyclops, because it seems like I've seen one with the hippie Cyclops with the one eye. But anyway, so tell me what you think about these figures. Tell me what you think about this Build-A-Figure and the Marvel lines, Legends lines in particular. Leave me some comments down below and some feedback. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this and other videos like this on my YouTube channel. Be sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss videos like this when they drop ever so randomly. And until next time, keep reading and keep collecting. Adios.